I'm your host, Heather Ashley, and welcome to another episode of Women of Her Story, a podcast dedicated to celebrating women who have made or are making their mark on our society. Switching it up with the interview this time around because your favorite co-host, Joe, is here to help me, and he's probably a little thrown off because I used his real name.
Absolutely.
Today we have with us a woman who needs no introduction, but we're going to give her one anyway. She's a finance expert who writes for NASDAQ, has appeared on Fox Business and CNN, just to name a few, and she's the mother of a sweet young daughter. The leader of the Invest Diva movement, Kiana Danial. Thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with us today, Kiana.
Of course, I'm super excited to join you guys today.
Yay!
Thank you.
Well, let's get started. There's so much to talk about, so why don't we start with your upbringing? Can you tell us a little bit about your experience growing up in Iran?
Yeah, absolutely. So my experience in Iran is obviously different than those who grew up in anywhere else but Iran. But surprisingly, it is not as different than you would think. So I grew up. You might think, okay, if you grew up in Iran, first of all, how do you speak English? Well, I grew up listening to Britney Spears and Eminem and memorizing all of those songs, rapping with them, dancing with them.
Awesome.
And that's literally one of the ways that I learned English. So big thanks to cable and satellite TV, I was very actually Americanized, even though I was in Iran. And for me, it was a little bit more different because I'm also Jewish. So being a Jew in Iran is something that people are surprised by again.
Yeah.
And Jews have been living in Iran for thousands of years and they continue to live there. And being in a Muslim country as a Jew was obviously a little bit difficult. I had to hide the fact that I was Jewish for a part of my school, not because I was scared, just because I didn't want to get bullied.
Sure.
But it is absolutely okay to be Jewish, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely okay to be any religion in Iran besides some like new religions. So those are the differences. Oh, one major difference is that I also went to an all-girls school. So that is just how the schools are set up in Iran.
Yeah.
So the interesting thing about that is that, well, I never experienced high school as I see on TV in America.
Yeah.
So no prom, no nothing. So those are the differences, basically.
Yeah. Did your family have any struggles that you had to go through, like tough times that felt like there was going to be no coming out of?
Well, yes. Well, even before I was born, what happened is that the Iranian Revolution happened before I was born. And my dad, who was previously a very successful CEO of a construction company, was basically taken over by the new government. They took over all of his assets, took over his company, took over his passport. They were going to kill him. They didn't. He locked out. And so that is a time that almost all Persian Jews were actually leaving Iran, coming to the US, going all other countries. My dad, after he locked out of getting killed, he kind of got in his head and decided to stay and sue the new government, if that makes any sense at all. And so that is what I was born into. I was born into my dad trying to sue the Iranian government without a job. And
oh my gosh.
Wow.
So it was obviously interesting. I didn't have any other experience to compare it to. So I thought that is just normal.
Yeah.
So, but it was something that taught me a lot about money, I would say, because I always heard stories about my parents being super wealthy before, and then my mom always crying about now she has to stand in line with coupons and all the stories that she was comparing. So I kind of always was curious about life with a ton of money. So that was a curiosity but at the same time, my family also, it's kind of weird because we also have this thing that, money is not the source of happiness, like all other, good old families, like money is not the source of happiness. So it was mixed messaging. It was like my mom's crying about not having money, but then at the same time, money is not a source of all happiness. So yeah, the curiosity was in me, and that is, I believe, the reason why I am here today, because of all the experiences that I went through as a child.
Yeah. What were some ways that you were able to get through those I mean, I guess like you said, you didn't really know any different. So it's not like you were also starting off as initially wealthy and then going backwards. You kind of were born into it, but I'm sure it wasn't easy to be living in that sort of situation, having to like watch this happen with your parents. What were some ways that you were able to get through that without feeling like devastated to watch that happen and listen to the stories?
Right. Listening to the stories, watching my mom cry a lot because of all the things that would happen. Like, I'm not going to get into details, but they had to like send away my brother and sister, and I was alone, and we were just living in Iran. We were not able to get out. So it was just very frustrating seeing my parents just trying to figure out a way.
Yeah.
And that kind of ignites that passion of me wanting to be the savior. All the children are always like, oh my God, I want to do something for my parents. So, and I'm the youngest. So, without knowing, like, that kind of became a life goal of mine, of like me becoming the person who finally takes back my parents to where they were today. So yeah, definitely that had an impact.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's really sweet.
Well, fast forwarding just a little bit, you ended up at a university in Japan, of all places. How did you end up there, and what was your time there like?
So that's interesting, right? So how I ended up there, it started as a joke. So my mom, when I was 18, I was studying for the entrance exam. I was studying to go to school in Iran. College entrance exam in Iran is super, super hard. And that year, my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer. So she was worried that that is going to impact my ability to study to get into college. And so she filled out this application that she saw about a scholarship given out by the Japanese government. And she's like, this is just a backup. Like, if you don't get into college here, you can go to Japan. I'm like, all right, whatever. And my dad is like, what are you doing? Like, what is going on? I'm like, yeah, it's just, we're going to do it. Just fill it out. I'm like, okay, whatever. So I filled it out, and I got both in the college in Iran, and I got the scholarship. So I got into college for computer science. I studied that for 6 months in Iran. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do 6 months in Japan. So I'm just going to go to Japan. I'm going to come back. My dad's like, no, you can't go. Like, I'll buy you a car. I'm like, well, you don't have the money, but whatever. So I decided to go just for 6 months. So that was the plan, that I'm going to go and come back. I didn't even like quit my college in Iran. I just took an absence.
Yeah.
And I went to Japan, and the first 6 months we went to language school, and it was like, oh my God, this is so awesome. It was the first time I had even seen like foreign people, because in Iran we don't have many tourists because of obvious reasons. People just don't go there. So for the first time in my life, I saw a Japanese, a Chinese person, Vietnamese, like American. I'm like, oh my God, this is so cool. And so I decided to stay, not knowing what was going to be waiting for me in actual college after we graduate the language school, and they send us to the Japanese college, which in my case, my major was electrical engineering, and my college was in this town, the most boring town on earth I've never heard of. It's called Gumma. Like, nobody has ever heard of it. And so I was like, oh, whatever. So I went there. I turned out to be the only girl in my class, the only foreigner in my class.
Wow.
And that is when the struggle began. But it was kind of too late to go back. I had already missed out on 2 years of college. I didn't want to go back. And it was just like, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna wait it out. I'm gonna just study. And then I had to study electrical engineering in Japanese, and it was just super tough.
Different.
Absolutely the most miserable years of my of my life.
Oh,
So long story short, the 6 months turned into 7 years.
Yeah.
wow.
I mean,
That's so interesting.
when were you able to like travel much when you were in school in Japan? So I was actually born in Okinawa.
What? Okay.
Yeah, which
I'm
is
sorry
like,
that I just bashed Japanese people.
no. And then I was there for a very short period of time. And then I actually last year was in Kagoshima for about a month doing a play, which was like, I mean, Kagoshima is incredible. I have to go back. Can't wait to take him. So, I mean, I don't know if you were able to make it all the way down to that island, but it is gorgeous. And they're so nice.
No, absolutely. So here's the thing. College was horrific, but I definitely did make the most of it. I traveled all through Japan. I've been to Kagoshima. I've been to Okinawa. I've been all over. And
so funny.
so the 3 years in Gunma was horrific. Let me
Wow.
explain. But then the rest of it was in Tokyo.
Yeah.
And in Tokyo, I transferred to a different college in Tokyo, and there I already knew I don't want to study engineering. I was just sucking it up to get my degree.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, I was doing all other things. I was teaching English. I was trying to figure out what my passion is. And that is how I was actually introduced to trading. And I did have a lot of fun in Tokyo. Tokyo, or any other, I would say, city than Gunma, I think, is awesome. Gunma is just like, even where is it even? But yeah, so the cool places, Okinawa is definitely one of my favorite. And Tokyo is getting even better now. Like, there are just so many foreigners, and it's becoming a lot more international, and Japanese people are a lot more welcoming. So Gunma was like, oh my God, who's that? Like, well, they would just call me foreigner, like outsider, right? So straight up. So it was different. But now Tokyo is definitely awesome. It's a blast.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's kind of likened to like if you end up driving through a town with one stoplight in middle of nowhere in like the Midwest, and they're like, we don't recognize this car. Who are you? Like,
Exactly.
Yeah. We're like, why are you still here?
Leave.
Like, it's time for you to go. So tell us about this TV show in Japan. How did that come to be?
Right. So as I said, after I got out of Gunma, I was just furious. I was looking for anything to just take back, like make up for the time that I quote unquote wasted in Gunma and didn't enjoy my youth. And I was like, oh my God, everybody else is having fun going to parties. I'm like staying in Gunma and doing nothing. So I was just doing everything. So the TV show was one of the things that I tried. And I was casted to be on NHK as a group of foreigners who spoke Japanese, who had exposure to the Japanese culture, and we would discuss Japan's issues, a lot of issues from a foreigner's point of view. So it was very
interesting,
forward thinking for Japanese people to letting the gaijins, the foreigners, to discuss their issues. And they had one of the most popular talents, Shinagawa-san, yeah, on the show. And so that was pretty fun. That was one of the fun things that I did. And I was a regular on that show for about 2 years. And yeah, so that was pretty fun. If you Google Kiana Danial Japan, it will pop up.
Yeah. Well, I watched some clips of it, and I was just like, it's so colorful. It's just a very different setting than I feel like I'm used to seeing that type of show. And also, I can't think of a show here that is that sort of format, where it's a group of foreigners discussing the problems within the United States.
That would turn into a massive political turmoil.
It would be like if they had C-SPAN in the UN, You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that would just be like, C-SPAN's already kind of boring a little bit, which is
Yeah,
sad to
yeah.
say.
So they were able to
Okay.
take C-SPAN and make it fun for sure. Yeah, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, the global recession in 2008 hit everyone hard. You found a savvy way to make some money by exchanging the Japanese yen to the US dollar. Can you explain what it is that you were doing and how and why it worked in your favor?
Right, absolutely. So that is where my curiosity about money kind of kicked in.
Mm.
Now, make no mistake, I had no idea about finance, economy. I didn't know what the word recession means, neither in English or Japanese or any other language. Like, okay, recession, what does it mean?
Mm.
But everybody was talking about it. One thing that I heard that resonated with me was that the US dollar is devaluating. The US dollar is getting cheaper versus the Japanese yen. Now, that's the language I understood because I was an exchange student. I always had to exchange my, Iranian money to Japanese money. My parents, because my brother and sister were in the US, they always had to exchange money, US dollar to the Iranian money. I understood the fluctuations and how my parents, every time they had to exchange and the value of the US dollar was higher, it would screw them over. But if US dollar got cheaper, it was great. So that I got. I'm like, oh, cool. And that was right after I was on the Japanese TV show. I had started making a bit of a money, and I was like, okay, if I'm ever going to go to the US and I have some Japanese yen in my bank account, maybe now that the US dollar is cheap, is a good time to exchange my money.
Mm.
And I didn't know how much cheaper it's going to get. So I was like, you know what? I'm kind of a risk averse investor. I was even before I knew what risk averseness means, but I didn't exchange all of it in one day.
Mm-hmm.
I went to the bank, I exchanged some of it. The next time I went to the bank, it was cheaper. I'm like, oh my God, I should have waited. So I exchanged a little bit more. The next day is even cheaper. I'm like, damn it, like I should have waited. So I was like, I don't want to go to the bank every single day. I just want to like know how low it's going to go and just like tell the bank to exchange it for me instead of me having to go there. Maybe I can like write them, I don't know, automate it through a code. So engineering mindset coming in. And I was just talking about it out of nowhere with my friend. And he's like, yeah, I mean, you can do that. There are, places that literally their job is taking your order and place it for you. It's called a broker. I'm like, what's a broker? So with the help of a friend, I just opened up a Forex trading account. Again, I didn't know what Forex is. Now I know it. I've written a book about it now, but it stands for foreign exchange. And I transferred $10,000 worth of Japanese yen to the exchange. I told them, hey, sell my Japanese yen for the US dollar at this price. I think it was like 96 or something.
Mm-hmm.
And my friend also put in a leverage for me. I had no idea what that was, but it was very risky. I didn't know, but it turned out to work in my favor out of luck. And from August to September, I waited, and then the trade went in and I made $10,000.
Wow.
And I was like, whoa, like, this is cool.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't even do anything and I made $10,000 out of nowhere. Everybody else is just losing money. Like banks are going bankrupt and I made money. Look at me. I'm
You're
super
sitting
cool.
back getting a payday. You're
That's
like,
Yeah. So that was the spark. I'm like, I got to figure out what this trading thing is.
yeah.
I just dove into it. I started just asking people. And at the time, so I never talk about this part with people, but I was teaching English as well as like part-time job. And I had students who were working in the bank. So I just used that time with my English students for them to explain to me how all these things work.
Perfect.
So yeah, I got to. So they became my teachers while I was getting paid. It was
so smart.
That is.
You have those. They were good resources for
you know,
you. That's great.
Yeah,
and they were learning all this terminology. You know.
Exactly. Yes.
That's pretty savvy, I'd say. I mean, like, why not utilize? It's kind of like oh my gosh,
Give and take.
that's so funny. Well, after being in Japan for nearly a decade, what made you want to make the move to New York City?
New York. So I started getting super passionate about finance, right? And I was like, okay, so all these people are telling me about these things. This is super exciting, but I still don't get it. But I really want to trade, but I don't know how to. I understand the value of it, but maybe what if I don't get lucky next time? So I did the next best thing. I was actually approached by a money manager. Is like, hey, I can manage your money for you. And I'm like, cool. That's like, that makes sense. Like, I don't know how to do it. Let me give my money to this person who claims he knows everything and is backed by this. Wow. So fancy, all these documents that I have to sign. He definitely knows what he's doing, what he's talking about, and he's definitely not going to scam me. So, which is what he did. So they took my money.
Wow.
They took my money, and I laugh about it now, but it was devastating. So
Yeah.
I got into this contract, and the company was based in Isle of Man, which is right above the UK. Now, again, I didn't know where Isle of Man is. I thought it's just part of the UK. So it sounded very legit.
Yes.
Now I know Isle of Man is just for shady people to do shady things. They have literally no money, no governance over there. And I signed the contracts, which I didn't know at the time, but it basically locked all of my money in. And it said that if I want to take out my money, I would have to pay a 75% penalty. Now, I had verbally asked the guy, hey, if I want to take out my money, can I do it? He's like, oh, yeah, anytime. But that was not what was written in the agreement.
Wow.
And of course, a naive person, I didn't actually read the agreement. So all the things that you learn the hard way, right? So
that's insane.
anyways, that was like, okay, this is stupid. I want to take things in my own hands. I want to go to the heart of finance. I want to learn all of these things the right way. And that's what happened. I just packed up, went to Wallstreet, got a job within 2 weeks at a Forex broker. So my experience with dollar yen trade kind of came in handy. And that's where it began basically my journey in finance on Wall Street.
Yeah. So Wall Street and the finance bros, that must have been an experience to say the least. Can you expand on anything that you noticed during your time on Wall Street?
Yeah, absolutely. So things are changing now, but so going to Wall Street was kind of like going back to my Gunma college, being the only girl in my class, like nobody talks to me, nobody takes me seriously kind of thing. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, I thought this is the US. Again, from the movies, I thought the US is just so progressive. In the movies, you see all these women in super high power jobs and they're like wearing the suit and rocking it. And that's not the case. So Hollywood is very, very misleading.
Yeah.
So I was super shocked because honestly, in Iran, there is more equality when it comes to women and men in male-dominated fields. Like in Iran, I went to computer science not thinking I'm getting into a male-dominated field. Right. 50% of my classmates were girls and the rest were guys, and we were just studying computer science. There was no gender assigned to that field. Whereas both in Japan and in the US, there was a gender assigned to
anything
math,
in STEM.
Anything in STEM, math, finance, engineering, all of it. And that was super shocking to me. I'm like, how can it be the leader of the world? This is it? Like that? I did not come to America for this.
No.
Right?
No, not at all.
So another kind of fire ignited again. I got fired from my job for that. I would, so there is a lot that goes into me getting fired that has to do with me being a woman. I wanted to be an analyst. My boss was like, Kiana is not an analyst. She'll never will be. And I started kind of getting passionate. And when I get hot-headed, I just say things that is in my mind. And I was like, you should do this, you should do that. Like, you should get women, da, 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 da. And my boss was like, who's this like intern girl who's just telling me what to do? You're fired. Okay, bye. So got fired. I wasn't an intern actually, but I was a
He
newbie.
probably thought of you as an intern. So
Annoying.
Yeah, like I was a first year, level 1 entry. What do they call people like that?
entry level?
Entry level.
I
Yes.
think entry level.
Yeah, I think you got it. Yeah.
Entry level junior person. So that's what happened. I got fired, and I was like, okay, again, I'm gonna take things in my own hands. Now I had so many different reasons why I wanted to make this a reality, and January 1st, 2012 is when I founded Invest Diva, and the goal was to get women to start investing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been 8 years.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Congrats on that.
Congrats on 8
That's
years.
impressive.
I do want to ask you, though, a little bit about how it made you feel being fired, and at that point in your life, did you doubt yourself and your abilities moving forward?
Obviously, I wasn't able to talk about getting fired for a very long time. I opened up about it literally a year and a half ago.
Wow.
Until then, because my ego was super hurt, first of all, I would lie that I quit. I would tell my friends that I quit because it was just so hurtful that I actually got fired while I thought that I was doing the best that I could. Like literally the day that I got fired, before they told me that I have to pack up. And when they do it in Wallstreet, it's like ruthless. So like, hey, you're fired. You need to pack up and go in 15 minutes because otherwise you're going to get access. Like they want to minimize any amount that you could get any information out. Yeah.
Wow.
So in the morning of the day that I got fired, I actually had just completed like one of the massive tasks that was on me. And I was like, yeah, my boss is going to love me. Like I thought I was kicking butt. So it was so hard. Like first, I went through all phases of grief, like denial. Yeah, I quit kind of thing. And then no, I'm going to be fine. And like, screw them, like all the phases, and like being depressed. And then, so I got fired, I believe it was in August. And it took me a while to actually put that energy into something new and founding Invest Diva, which was in January. And during that time, I was just debating about like, what am I going to do? I did get job offers from other corporations on Wall Street. I got 2 job offers from Japanese banks because that really made sense because I spoke Japanese and background in finance, and I was also kind of thinking with maybe I should just start something on my own. And I had this headhunter guy who was helping me find the jobs, and finally he saw that I'm super passionate about this thing that would never be possible at a corporate finance. So after I got the jobs, and I'm like, what am I going to do? Like, should I go this way or should I go on my own? And the guy, he was like super, super cool. I have to reach out to him. He's like, you know what, Kiana, I don't think you're ever going to settle at a corporation. Like, you're just not cut out for this. Just go with your heart, follow your passion. So that's how kind of I just left the corporate and started out on my own.
Good advice.
Yeah. It's so nice to hear that even within that type of industry, there's people in there who aren't just gonna send you off and be like, no, you're just go do this other thing. Like there's people that actually genuinely care about what you want to do, and they know you well enough to be like, this isn't the right sector for you. This is you need to go a different route to be satisfied, to be happy.
Absolutely. Because I mean, he would have lost money on that, because if I did take a job, he would get a cut. So that was really, really nice of him. So yeah, definitely there's still faith in humanity, and there are definitely nice people out there, even on Wall Street. So
oh my goodness. Well, I would love to words sometimes are hard. So I'd love for you to take it away and tell us all about Invest Diva, why it focuses on financially educating women, why it's important to invest in your financial future, and any other insights you might have.
So Invest Diva, now I call it a movement, is a movement to jump on if you'd like to take control of your financial future and to make your money work for you. And what we do is we have created this movement of not only women, but actually also men who support the initiative, like yourself. And I'm talking to you, Joel, yes. And so we basically, people are like, oh, I'm not a woman, can I join? I'm like, yes, but only if you support. And that's why it's just so amazing that our group, like normally financial group and investing groups and trading groups, is like, it's a male dominated energy there that people are competing. Oh, look at my trade. I'm a genius. Look at that. Da, 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 da. Like there is no support, like real support and wanting to see people succeed and taking control in financial literacy. So finally, after years and years and years, I feel like we've achieved that. It was a very, very long battle because when I first started, and I did, get published by McGraw-Hill, and that was a great, great win for me because it brought me on the map and people could trust me. But unfortunately, it is a male-dominated field. So organically, I would just attract a lot of men who wanted to learn. And that for me was very confusing. I didn't want to say no because they were paying me money. I'm like I'm not going to say no, like if I want to stay in business. But it was also taking me away from the mission and the reason why I had Invest Diva. I started Invest Diva, and I want to say that it was the reason why that it wasn't taking off at a speed that I really wanted it. It wasn't gaining momentum because I was just one of the other gurus who was teaching about trading and finance, and there are a lot of them out there. So it is interesting that COVID-19 was the trigger. And it's very recent. It is kind of sad to say that it's very recent that we finally got this women movement feeling as once COVID hit. And I feel like it was because people suddenly, like whenever a recession happens, just like it happened to me back in 2008, people suddenly think about finances. Because before that, everybody's very comfortable. They have their job. They're like, whatever, something's going to happen. It's never going to happen to me. They're not looking forward. But COVID made people think, made women think. And this time around, I was there. So I was there. I already had the foundation established. And suddenly it was like fire, really from March. Our participation and our membership just went to the roof. It has, I can actually give you by number. It's like 1,000% growth in membership. We went from 100 members to 1,000 members.
That's incredible.
And it has been just super amazing. Wow. So finally I can say, yes, it's an Invest Diva movement. That's when I changed from I'm the CEO of Invest Diva to the leader of the Invest Diva movement, because it actually now feels like a movement. You have women who are just in the group, they're rocking it, they're learning it, they understand. And even no matter how much they don't know about finance, no matter how beginner they are, like I was back in 2008. So basically what it is I've taken all these years of me like not knowing and learning and losing money. And there are a lot of things that I left out here, like trading on my own and losing money and then getting back in and all these things. So it's a shortcut. It's a shortcut to start investing in your future and for your family and for your kids, if you have them, or if you want to have them in someday, to just get on within 8 weeks. It's an 8-week course.
Oh, yeah. It's not too long. That's I feel like the perfect time frame, little chunk thing. And recently, little chunk thing. What am I saying?
Time frame. Yeah. Time.
What are those words? No, I recently came across. Wow.
You're on fire.
I am on fire. Oh my gosh. I came across a quote.
There you go.
That I'm going to paraphrase. That's basically saying, like, learn from the mistakes of others because you don't have enough time to make them all yourself.
Oh my God, 100%.
And it's something just like using the knowledge of the people around you, and there's no shame in taking the quote unquote shortcut to it, being like, someone is offering you this path that they have found all of the successful little points to get you from A to Z without having to go through A.1 and like L minus 11. You know, you can just get A to Z without all of the pit stops in between.
Yeah, I mean, that is something I wish I had back in the day. Like when I was super curious about finance, and I was hearing about it, I was trying to learn it from my English students and like the money manager and this person and that person. It was all over the place. And I lost a ton of money and a ton of time. And a lot of time that my money could have been working for me and it didn't. So it absolutely is. I think it comes down to, a lot of people want to do it on trial and error. And if you have that kind of, I don't want to say a big head, but if you're like super, someone who's like savvy, you can say, I'm going to figure it out myself. And don't get me wrong, I was that kind of person too. I was like, I'm not going to pay somebody I'm going to figure it out myself. I'm going to get paid to learn about it. And I was like, I would go and ask my students. Like, I'm super savvy like that, but it didn't work out for me. Like, I wish I had actually like taken a course and invested that money to learn the right way. And of course, courses are intimidating. So that's the reason why I've made sure that my course is something that anyone with any background, like literally fourth grade math, can get in, understand, and start investing and get on top of their finances. And just talk money is a very important portion of our lives that a lot of people are intimidated to talk about, which is something that we also address in the course. The belief system around money and talking about money with your spouse and with your family and all that.
So as you mentioned, COVID-19 with a big increase in the people joining the Invest Diva movement, where is it? What advice do you have to those people who are scared to invest, thinking that maybe they don't have enough money in their bank account to invest, you know, properly, the like, you know, $3,000 or more, or, you know, is there a way, do you need that much money? Can it be less than that?
So I'm so glad that you asked that. So there are a lot of misconceptions around investing and a lot of myths. Number one is what you just said, is that I don't have a lot of money. I probably need to have a ton of money to invest. And the answer is absolutely not. You can start investing with $50 and you can grow on that $50. Like back when Apple stock was $14, if you had bought 2 shares of Apple, today you would have had, I don't even know how much, like what is Apple? They have split their stock so many times, but a lot more money.
Right? Way more than that, yeah.
A lot more than $50. Let's just put it that way. And so, and even so, though you can say, hey, well, yeah, but Apple is $500 right now with $50. What am I going to do? You can buy fractional shares. Like anybody can start investing as long as you have a plan, as long as you know what you're doing, which is why I've created the course, because, you know, you cannot just go and blindly follow a guru, because what I'm investing in today is definitely not going to be suitable for anybody else, because I'm unique and you're unique and everyone is in their unique situation, unique family situation, income, financial goals, risk tolerance, psychology, like your willingness and your ability to take a risk, all of that comes to play. So no, you don't need a lot of money to start. Another myth is that I need to be a math whiz to invest. And that is the funniest misconception. And so interestingly enough, yes, I studied electrical engineering, but I actually suck at math. So I just got into it because my dad was an engineer and it was just expected of me to become an engineer. So I'm much better with languages. Like I'm just very good at languages.
Jealous.
And the funny thing is, I married somebody who is he's a rocket scientist, my husband, a real, like actual, actual rocket scientist. And guess what? My investment portfolio actually outperforms his because he gets emotional. He gets into his, like, oh, I'm a man, I'm going to win, and da-da-da-da-da. So And math has nothing to do with it. Like literally has nothing to do with it. It's all about emotional management. And another interesting point is that research after research shows that women are actually better at managing their investment portfolios because we are not driven by testosterone, and because it's true, because people are like, oh, but women are emotional. Well, I'm sorry, so are men. There are different kinds of emotions.
Absolutely.
Men are driven by the testosterone kind of emotion. We're driven by the other one that I don't even know the name. What is it?
Estrogen.
Estrogen, yes.
This is very fascinating. Yeah.
We look more long term. We don't trade to win. We are more risk averse. And that's what I love about my group also, is that because like the guys are getting trained to control their testosterone because they know they're in a very female dominated presence. Like they cannot just go and like talk about or boast about their wins because
they're
like we just don't tolerate. No, like no, who cares? Whatever. Like get out of here, dude. Like we just don't operate that way.
So great.
So yeah, girls, you got it. You can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I just love everything that you're doing with that. It's amazing.
So inspiring. Yeah, it's really cool.
You have a redemption story that has something to do with that see words again. You have a redemption story that has something to do with New York's money show, and I'd love for you to tell us about that.
Oh yeah, that was sweet. So you remember that boss on Wall Street who fired me? Yeah. So years later, I was invited to actually be a speaker at the Money Show in New York, and I now do it every year, but that was the first time. And I got on the stage and I did my thing, and people are applauding, and I'm the analyst, and they're like, I have my book in my hand, I'm the published author, and all these things. And I look around, and that boss is actually sitting in the audience.
Yes.
And I took the courage to actually walk up to him and say, hey, do you remember that time you told my direct boss that Kiana is not an analyst and she never will be? And he's like, and he said this, he said, yep, you sure proved me wrong.
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect.
Oh my gosh. I bet that felt so good.
That was it. That did it for me.
Oh, yeah. Oh, probably almost as good as the whole speech. Just that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He's so
reveling
pumped.
in that
It's so
for you.
good.
That's such a good moment of revenge. Like you drove me here, now I'm here, and I'm looking at you.
It's that Hollywood story I came to America for.
Honestly,
that's good. That's that good Hollywood story.
The whole thing could be a movie.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Oh, you're an actress. You guys should play me or something.
Yeah, I'll definitely. Yeah, we'll find some. We want to,
we'll figure it out.
Yeah, representation.
We'll
We'll
get it
make
going.
sure it's definitely there. We'll get that on it'll be a 6-part series on Netflix.
There it is.
Yeah.
6-part limited series.
Yeah, already working on it. Yeah, we'll get Jordan Peele.
Writing the script.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, Jordan Peele will direct.
A little bit of a horror spin. You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh. Oh, well, wow, this just flew by, because before we get to our last 2 questions, is there anything else that you would like to add, where we can find you online, your books, you've mentioned them, anything we didn't touch on that you would like to discuss?
Yeah, so I think the best place for anyone who want to get started is the website, investdiva.com. And I'm all over the place. My handles are Invest Diva and Kiana Danial. Just make sure that you follow the right one. That's why I tend to get people to just go to my website, because there are a lot of impersonators. A lot of impersonators. And my accounts are not verified on no social media, which is so super weird. I don't understand why. I'm like a 4-time author, best-selling author. They just don't verify me. I don't understand why. So there are so many impersonators that are actually scamming people. So the best place to go is actually investdiva.com.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And what are the titles of your books?
So the interesting thing is the books that I've written are not about what I'm teaching right now, are a little bit riskier. But the first
a
book
little
is
more like
Forex trading. Yeah, so it's Invest Diva's Guide to Making Money in Forex. That was the first book, came out in 2013. The second one is Ichimoku Secrets. It's very technical, Japanese technical analysis.
That's cool.
The third, oops,
right over my
what did you just say? Was that a spell, a magic spell? Third one is Cryptocurrency Investing for Dummies. That's one of the For Dummies book. You know, the yellow, red books.
Cryptocurrency for dummies. Wow. Yeah.
Cryptocurrency investing for dummies. So there is one. Yeah. So there is a cryptocurrency for dummies that is written by somebody else. Mine is cryptocurrency investing for dummies.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And the last one, which actually came out 2 months ago, that one's the best-selling one, is $1 Million Moms. That I co-authored with 5 other moms. So that is super cool. Yeah.
Cool. Oh, that's so cool. And I'm assuming those, like, that's available on like Amazon.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All over the place.
Perfect. Okay. I love that. And anything else you want to add before we get to our last 2?
I guess we got everything.
Amazing. So I ask the same last 2 questions to everyone that comes through the podcast. First, what is your second favorite color?
That is the funniest question anyone has ever asked me. Whatever my daughter's second favorite color is in the day. I don't know. Sometimes she likes orange and sometimes she likes pink. And I don't even know if she has a second or first favorite color.
How old is she?
2.5. So we're just getting through the colors. You know what? Whatever color she has not painted all over the wall with that day, I think that's my second favorite color.
Oh my gosh. You know, and something I want to add before we get to the last question is I meant to bring it up earlier, but the fact that there is another myth around, I feel like there is, around women investing and making money and doing all these things, that you have to have insane amounts of time to be able to do so. And if you have a toddler at home, or if you have kids, or you know, if you've got a 9-to-5 job, that you need all this extra time to be able to invest. And that's clearly not the case.
Not at all. So if you're a day trader, yeah, you probably need to be stuck to your screen all day, but that is not investing, and personal finance is the one that I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. Investing is not time consuming. It shouldn't actually be, because the more time you spend, the more emotional you get, and you don't want to get emotional. Mm-hmm. So I am a mom first, wife second, entrepreneur third, and investor fourth. The only amount of time I spend per week on investing is 1 hour.
Wow.
And only on Tuesday mornings I go on. I completely ignore all the news that come out throughout the week, because that is just noise.
Yeah.
And I go on Tuesdays. That is when I actually go live with my students and I manage my account. I check to see if everything is on track with the long-term strategies. And if needed, I make some changes. And that's it. 1 hour per week.
Wow. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
And that is for a portfolio. I manage 4 portfolios. Each of them have at least 30 assets. So it's a total of 120 assets that I manage 1 hour per week.
Wow. You know, I feel like there's so much, we've kind of mentioned it before. There's so much, people are just so scared of it. I know I'm scared of it, you know, where there's so many things that we are told and fed all the time. And then when you look at, you know, charts, and you're just like, I have no idea. This must take a whole lot of time to learn and be able to do. So I'm not even going to touch it, which is, I love that you are saying that's not the case. Here's the way to do it with 1 hour a week. Like, that's incredible.
Impressive.
It's amazing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because so the first step is always the hardest and it's the most intimidating. I mean, finance has just been intimidating for the longest time. The reason being that people in finance need to make it intimidating so that they can make money, because guess what? Like money managers, they have to make it sound intimidating, because otherwise, if anybody was investing on their own, why would anybody want to go to a money manager?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the point, that they need to make it look complicated so that they sound smart and you feel stupid and you don't do it on your own. The same way that I thought that's what happened to my money manager. I'm not saying all money managers are scammers, but that's what it is though. That's what it is. That's why they make it complicated so that you don't understand.
Wow. Boo.
It's not complicated, believe me.
Oh my goodness. Well, lastly, what, in your opinion, is the best part of being a woman?
That's a very heavy question, right? Because like us as women, I don't know, at least for me, I'm like, what? There was a good thing about being sometimes like we're always, I don't know, hard on ourselves. Like we could be better. We could be better. And I think that might be the best part of being a woman, is that, I mean, no offense to men, but like my husband is awesome, but he is so full of himself. Like he thinks he's already God. Like
Yep.
He's probably in the next room hearing this. I was like, what are you saying? Why did you bring me this? But that's what it is. I feel like women are continuously looking for ways to improve themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that. I love that. A lot of men are that way too, for sure. But I feel like it comes more naturally to women.
Yes.
Because like all the self-help, all the books that you see out there is mainly for women. Is because there's a need, like there's an audience for it. Women are continuously looking to improve. So I love that. I think that is beautiful. That's like, we have the gift to give to the future and to nurture our husbands as well. So
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you on behalf of future husbands. We appreciate that. Thanks for trying to make the world.
I was giving a point. I was hinting something over.
Yeah. He picked up. He got it.
Picked up.
He got it.
He got it.
Yeah,
You're passing the test over there, Joe.
Fly over his head. Yeah, no, he just got it. I had to think for a little while. I do have a little bit of a delay. But.
He's like, wait, I think this one's to me.
My man brain. I think it's supposed to understand something.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for joining us today, Kiana. Like, I don't know about you, Joe, but I feel ready to like dive into some, I have confidence in just wanting to invest in my future, our future, and just like getting all of that together, especially in times like now, which I feel like this is going to be like the best time to get into any stuff like that.
Right.
Absolutely. I cannot wait for you guys to start and be the next success story and spread the word and educate other people. It's going to be awesome.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And thank you, listeners, or as we are now calling you, historians. Oh, we're so cheesy. Thank you guys so much for tuning in again. We really appreciate the continued support. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review, and tell all your friends so that we can continue to grow. More and more and more people can learn from these amazing women like Kiana. If you want some extra info every week, follow us on the social medias on Instagram
at Women of Her Story Podcast,
Twitter,
The Her Story Pod,
and visit our website at
ofherstory.com.
And until next week, be safe, stay healthy, and show the world what you're made of.
Bye. This is a New York Glitch production.